Welcome into Football Night New York Living Room Edition. Jonas Schwartz, along with Ralph Vacchiano, Jeane Coakley, who was along with Conor McGovern, new Jets offensive lineman. We'll have more of that conversation coming up later. But, guys, so much with the draft coming up. Everybody's pumped up for it. Both New York football teams have lots they have to get done in this draft. And right off the bat, let's talk about draft positioning. Ralph, should the Giants look to pick up some assets and trade down in this draft?
Absolutely. And I think they will. From what I've been told, they're more open to that than they've been in years. And it's because they know they're in a great position to trade down. Look, they're in the fourth spot in a draft where there probably will be 3, maybe 4 quarterbacks in the top 15. Teams that are looking at Tua, teams that are looking at Justin Herbert, know they have to get ahead of the Miami Dolphins at 5, the LA Chargers at 6, and maybe one of those two teams will want to move up as well. So the Giants probably will get a lot of calls, and for them, it's a no-brainer. If they can trade down with the Dolphins or Chargers and move down just 1 or 2 spots, they'll get the exact same player they would have gotten at 4, and if they trade farther down than that, they could get a ton in return. They're in a great position, and if the calls come, they absolutely should do it.
You know, actually, that Jets-Colts trade from a couple of years ago that got the Jets Sam Darnold, it's a good model for Dave Gettleman in this instance. Jeane, speaking of the Jets, they're at 11. Should they move up in this draft?
No, Jonas, the Jets just have to stay put. They have too many needs to fill. They got 8 picks. They have 4 in the top 79. Use those picks and build from the draft. Build that foundation through this draft. I mean, listen, never say never. If they're truly in love with this one lineman and they think this guy can change their franchise like a D'Brickashaw Ferguson did and a Nick Mangold did, then yeah, you move up. But he's got to be a real special lineman, and they really have to be in love with them. But as far as I'm concerned, they need to just stay put.
Now, we know both of these teams need offensive line help, and they both want to protect their young quarterbacks. Ralph, which team in your mind needs more help, needs to come out with a bigger impact offensive lineman in this draft?
Well, there's no question to me it's the Giants. Look, both of their lines were terrible last year, but the Jets this offseason, Joe Douglas at least has started the process, bringing in George Fant at left tackle, Conor McGovern at center, just adding some depth to the line as well. The Giants, meanwhile, really haven't over the last few years. They've brought in some pieces. Some have worked out. Their guards look good, but they're still missing a center. In 2021, you got to figure their 2 tackles, Cam Fleming and Nate Solder, will both be gone. They haven't really drafted that big tackle prospect. This is their chance because they can't go another season of not protecting their quarterback, of not blocking for Saquon Barkley. They're just wasting the primes of those players. They need to start that rebuilding now, and they have to go heavy on the offensive line in this draft.
I completely agree with you, Ralph. Both teams need O-lines. They both need to protect Daniel Jones, and they need to protect Sam Darnold, 2 guys who they believe are their franchise quarterbacks. I mean, the Jets O-line last year gave up 52 sacks. You can't do that if you expect Sam Darnold to be able to throw to his playmaker. But Joe Douglas made a promise to Sam Darnold's parents that he was going to protect him, and that's exactly what he's done. I don't see that same promise on the other side with Daniel Jones right now. And like you said, you got Saquon Barkley, too, to protect. You got a running back who can change the game. You need a good O-line to do that. So I think Daniel Jones needs to be protected more because Joe Douglas already is doing that for Sam Darnold. And as our old friend Ray Lucas likes to say, everything starts with those big fatties up front.
Yeah, no doubt. Those 2 GMs, you can't find 2 GMs who like to talk offensive line more. Gettleman with the hog mileage. Joe Douglas got off the plane and was talking offensive linemen. Well, let's talk playmakers here for a second because that's obviously a focus in this draft too, Jeane. Jets certainly could use some wide receivers. Giants always want to help out Daniel Jones. Which team needs to come out with an impact wide out for their young quarterback in this draft more, Jets or Giants?
Jonas, come on. That's got to be Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have a number 1 receiver on this roster. Robbie Anderson last year was considered their number 1. And yes, he was good, but did he really scare teams that much? I don't think so. And now Robbie Anderson is now with the Panthers. Sure, they got Perriman, and he is a speedy receiver, but is he a number 1? Absolutely not. You got Jamison Crowder, who's very good in that slot, but they don't have a guy that can change the game. They don't have that guy that Sam Darnold can just go to, throw that ball, and open up the game. If I'm a defense right now, I'm stacking the box and being like, you know what, try me. Use Le'Veon Bell because that right now is your only playmaker. So Sam Darnold, they've got to get him a playmaker.
Yeah, the Jets haven't had that kind of playmaker since Brandon Marshall was his last big season with the team. That was now a while ago. Look, the Giants don't have one of the best receiving cores in football, but Golden Tate was a number 1 receiver just a couple of years ago, and they still believe he's got that ability. They gave big money to Sterling Shepard, who they think has the ability to be a number 1. Darius Slayton had a nice rookie year for them. They think he has the potential to be a number one type receiver. So if nothing else, they've got three guys who are somewhat dangerous with a high ceiling. The Jets really have none. Crowder's dangerous in his own way. Nobody thinks of him as a number one receiver. The Jets need to find that go-to guy that every young quarterback needs.
And they also need to find some depth, too. They need to fill out that wide receiver room without question. I expect them to take multiple receivers in this draft. And, you know, when it comes to this draft, we know there's always a unique amount of pressure on a New York general manager. Joe Douglas, his first year, but boy, he brings that. It's not his fault, but that history of Jets drafts that follows every general manager for the Jets around. And Dave Gettleman obviously has plenty riding on this as well. Jeane, in your mind, which New York general manager is under more pressure going into this draft?
Oh, that's not even close. I mean, Joe Douglas can't have any pressure put on him. All right, I get it. New York Jets fans want it right away. They want to win immediately. But Joe Douglas is a patient guy. You have to build the culture, like he said. It's a foundation. This is his first draft as a Jets GM. He's going to be methodical about it. He's going to do it the right way.
Yeah, you know, you got to give a new general manager 3 years minimum to see what his plan is and how he can rebuild the team. So, you know, Douglas has that on his side. The problem for Dave Gettleman is he's here. And the first couple of years were terrible. They just changed coaches. You saw the anger and disappointment in the eyes of ownership at the end of last season. In many ways, Dave Gettleman doesn't just need a good draft. He needs an immediate impact draft. He needs to find 2 or 3 players that can come in and help the team start the turnaround right now. Because in a lot of ways, he's picking right now and drafting for his job. If this team doesn't turn around quickly, he likely will be out, if not at the end of this year, certainly soon after that. So all the pressure to me is on him, and his draft will be watched very, very closely.
No doubt. And it'd be interesting to see if he trades down, which he's never done in his career, which we talked about. And also interesting to see what the reaction is if Joe Douglas passes on an offensive lineman at 11, especially if those 4 big tackles are there. We know he did not pass on an offensive lineman this offseason. He signed many of them, and one of them was Conor McGovern, who Jeane had a chance to catch up with in her jetting to know you.
First thing that comes to your mind, okay?
Okay, I'm ready.
Are you ready? Up first, if you had to change your first name, what are you changing it to?
I'm gonna go with Mac. It's always been a nickname for someone with a, with a Mick last name, so I'm gonna go with that one.
Mac McGovern? Okay.
Yeah,
like
it works.
Okay, yeah. If you could meet any fictional character, who are you meeting?
Fictional character, I'm gonna go with Hulk. I like the Hulk. He's my favorite superhero, so I'm gonna go with the Hulk.
The big Hulk, the Green Hulk, or the scientist?
Oh yeah, I want to meet the Green Hulk. Oh yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Favorite social distancing activity?
Well, I'm fortunate and have had home gyms and have a home gym in Denver and one here. And so I think working out's my favorite thing to do right now. And I know I don't know how people are getting away with just doing push-ups and air squats, because if I didn't have the home gym, I think I'd go pretty crazy. So that's what I'm saying. It's my favorite thing to do because I got to do it every day.
All right, final question. Since you grew up on a potato farm, mashed or baked?
Oh, mashed. Garlic mashed potatoes are my fit. That's goes cheesy hash browns, garlic mashed potatoes.
Okay, I like it. Conor, thank you so much for joining me.
All right, good stuff there. Conor McGovern, Jeane, and the potato talk is interesting.
I know. I got to go mashed potato. What about you, baked or mashed?
I was going sweet, but I don't know. Ralph?
I'm going with French fries. You guys are too fancy for me.
Oh,
you know what?
I
want to change mine. Yeah, I'm changing mine to Ralph. Good stuff, guys. More football night in New York coming up as we lead you up to the draft. Jeane, Coakley, Ralph Vacchiano, I'm Jonas Schwartz saying so long.